And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gents. This is a boy Casanova from Orlando, Florida, on this awesome and international podcast, Good Wine and Great Laughs. The podcast for wine lovers, ladies and gents, summer movies reviews, and hot topic discussions. I'm Casanova, your host. If you are new to my YouTube channel, what I do here every Saturday morning, I have the wine of the day, ladies and gents. Shortly, I'm going to open this wine. I'm going to drink it and I'm going to give you my rate about what I think about this wine. If you like the review and want to try yourself, the picture of the wine of the day is going to be available on all my social medias, okay? The same name as this podcast. And during the summer movies of June and July, I do summer movies reviews, all the movies down the movie theaters, movies that are coming on any of the platforms such as Netflix, Apple TV, and all the other ones. If I like, I want to watch it, I do a review. And during the rest of the year, ladies and gents, I have the hot topic discussions. Hot topic discussions are discussions that can affect our lives directly or indirectly, ladies and gents. So if you like the work that I do, ladies and gents, I ask for only three things. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel, click on the like button of any video that you watch, and share any of my videos that you watch with at least 5 people you know. I appreciate your support, ladies and gents. And today is Saturday, February 28th, 2026, and the weather here in Orlando, ladies and gents, is going to be overcast with the rain showers at times, highs of 74 and lows of 59 degrees, ladies and gents. So let's talk about the wine of the day. This is the third PINTA NEGRA that I bring to this podcast. First one was a red wine, the second one was a rosé, and today I have the PINTA NEGRA white wine. You can see it right here. It's a vintage of 2023. It says right here, Arinto and Fernão Pires make this wine exuberant with tropical and floral notes, refreshing acidity. Alcohol percentage, this wine is 12%. There is no recommendations for pairing as concerned, ladies and gents. Once again, it's a regional wine from Lisbon, Portugal. So the other two that I had, ladies and gents, I like it. So let's see what PINTA NEGRA white wine is all about. Gotta make sure my decanters here. Make sure I don't forget. Right here. Ooh la la. Okay. Definitely like the bouquet of this wine, ladies and gents. Ladies and gents, a very light white wine. It does have a hint of acidity at the end of the palate. But overall, ladies and gents, I'll give an 8 for this wine right here. Definitely is a wine that I would drink sitting on my balcony right here on the nice breezy day, just watching what's going on outside my door. Excuse me, I got a big pool right here. Early in the morning or late evening, it's a good wine. Good wine for you to have some cheese crackers. You know, I recommend it, ladies, and it's a very good, in my personal opinion, it's a good white wine. All right. So let me fill this up real quick. I'm not about that. You know, when you go to a restaurant to buy a glass of wine and they give you that little tiny portion, it's only 6 ounces for $10. Bitch, fill it up. That's why I hate go to bars, you know, spend our money for a little tiny. amount of one. Okay, ladies, today is the last Saturday of February, the last episode of Celebrating Black History Month 2026. And I was thinking about talk about another conversation with another famous person that's still alive that contribute, in my personal opinion, greatly for the black culture. But I end up find out this video they're gonna play in credits to Democracy Now! Is about a movie that came out 3 years ago. I didn't hear about it. Probably, I don't know if you heard about it, but it's the movie called The Rebellious Life of Mrs. Rosa Parks. Okay, so let's watch this video right here, ladies and gents. And at the end, I will give you my 2 cents about what I think. All right, it is showtime.
November 1st, 1955, that Rosa Parks famously refused to give up her seat on a bus to a white passenger in Montgomery, Alabama, thus launching the modern-day civil rights movement. When she died in 2005, one network described her as a tired seamstress. They said she was no troublemaker. But the media got it wrong. Rosa Parks was a first-class troublemaker. Today, we spend the hour looking at this often ignored side of her remarkable life. It's told in the new Peacock documentary, The Rebellious Life of Mrs. Rosa Parks.
I felt that I had a message, but people did not choose to listen to what I was saying.
We all understand that she sat down on the bus.
That policeman, he said, "Why don't you stand up?" I said, "I don't think I should have to stand up."
The narrow narrative of her just on one day did something
couldn't be further from the truth. Often the man is out front and you never hear about the wife. The reverse is true.
She was considered a threat.
Espousing radical views.
If they could see her talking about the Republic of New Africa, her out there with the Panthers, then they would understand the real Rosa Parks, but they might have been just a little frightened.
She has been an activist for over 3 decades.
For Ms. Parks, it was especially dangerous.
Fighting on issues that are still very much at the forefront.
She never gave up. She lit the torch to the next generation.
That's the trailer for The Rebellious Life of Mrs. Rosa Parks, set to air on Peacock Wednesday, October 19th. Well, on Friday, I spoke with 2 people involved in the film. Yoruba Richen, the film's co-director, acclaimed filmmaker, former Democracy Now! Producer, founding director of the documentary program at the Graduate School of Journalism at CUNY. I also spoke with Jeanne Theoharis, professor of political science at Brooklyn College, author of the award-winning biography, The Rebellious Life of Mrs. Rosa Parks, on which the new documentary is based. I began by asking Yoruba Richen why she chose to take on this project and why she felt it was important to tell the story of Rosa Parks over a half a century later.
I was contacted by my co-director, Joanna Hamilton, who had connected with Jeanne about the book. And was quite astonished that a full-length documentary film had not been made about Rosa Parks. And she read in Detroit. And I have to say, Amy, I don't know if you remember, but we were in D.C. At the memorial for her. I was working for Democracy Now! That's, we were at her beautiful memorial.
It was astounding. And I remember, of course, when we hopped on the train, I was watching CNN in the newsroom here at Democracy Now! And it said Rosa Parks had died, and there was going to be this memorial, right? First woman and second African-American to lie in state in the Capitol Rotunda, that she was an amazing woman because she was really just a tired seamstress. She was no troublemaker, they said. said. Well, of course, that's exactly what she was. And it's exactly what you document in this amazing film, and Jeanne Theoharis, that you wrote about in The Rebellious Life of Mrs. Rosa Parks. We hopped on that train, went down to tell that story. I mean, thousands came out for it. And this wasn't even the big funeral in Detroit. This was just
this wasn't,
to honor her. Cicely Tyson and Oprah Winfrey were inside. Now, so that takes us to Jeanne. Jeanne, you're an academic, you're a professor. Talk about your investigations of the civil rights movement and then realizing what we didn't know about a woman who perhaps everyone knows her name, Rosa Parks.
Right. And I think you and Yoruba starting with that memorial, that funeral, is actually where I started, because I was both transfixed by it. It's an incredible, really unprecedented honor for a woman activist, for a civil rights activist, and yet, as both of you are noting, she gets smaller and smaller in it. She's talked about as accidental. She's talked about as not a troublemaker. She's incessantly referred to as quiet, not angry, humble, quiet.
Intelligent woman who, she says that if unfortunately she wasn't able to go to college, but she, what she would have liked to do if she was able to. And her family took her in after she had to leave Detroit, after she had to leave Montgomery for Detroit, and protected her. And we really wanted to tell that story, that personal story of who she was, because again, her name, but we don't know, so much, and we certainly didn't know her personal story.
And as we continue to look at the new Peacock documentary, The Rebellious Life of Mrs. Rosa Parks, that premieres Wednesday. In a moment, we'll continue our conversation with the film's co-director, Yoruba Richen, and Professor Jeanne Theoharis. But first, let's go back to the documentary. In this clip, actress Lisa Gay Hamilton reads from Rosa Parks' letters about her investigation in 1944 of what happened to Reese Taylor, black mother and sharecropper raped by 6 white men in Alabama. Again, that clip from The Rebellious Life of Rosa Parks, the same title as the book on which it's based, by Jeanne Theoharis. Jeanne, if you can tell us more about how this shaped, the rape of Reese Taylor shaped, and also the reference before that to the Scottsboro boys, Rosa Parks with all of this.
So Rosa Parks gets involved with the Scottsboro case because of Raymond. When she meets Raymond in 1931, as we heard her say in that clip earlier, he's the first real activist I ever met. And what he's doing in 1931 is goes to her first Montgomery NAACP meeting in 1943. And she makes it known she wants to register to vote, and a man by the name of E.D. Nixon comes by her apartment to bring her some materials, and there will begin a partnership that's going to change the face of American history, because E.D. Nixon and Rosa Parks are going to set out to transform Montgomery's NAACP into a much more activist branch. And one of the areas that they are working in are what we would now call issues of racism in the criminal legal system. So there are 2 kinds of cases. Cases where black people, and often black men, are being wrongfully accused, and cases where black people, and particularly black women, are not protected by the law, and so are being raped or brutalized, and the law does not protect them. And so Reese Taylor is one such case, but it's only one of many that she's investigating, that they're trying to get justice for. And so over and over they try, and over there is no justice. And so I think one thing that we can see in Rosa Parks' life in this decade, right, from the mid-40s, right, till the early to mid-50s, is how many things they're trying and how hard it is, as she would put, to keep going when all our efforts seemed in vain. And so she is getting, as we would call it today, she's getting depressed, she's getting burned out. And so this is taking a toll. And yet I think one of the things that makes Parks so that I admire so much in her is this ability to keep going even when you get discouraged. And that's what we'll see her do.
So let's go back to the rebellious life of Mrs. Rosa Parks, to that moment when she refuses to stand up to give her seat to a white man on the bus. This is her arrest on December 1st, 1955, that launched the Montgomery bus boycott. And in this, your feature, Jeanne, the historian Jeanne Theoharis, and Rosa Parks in her letters, read by actress Lisa Gay Hamilton, along with Rosa Parks' voice itself.
I had finished my day's work.
Again, that's a clip from the Rebellious Life of Mrs. Rosa Parks that is premiering on Peacock. Yoruba Richen, if you can talk about this key moment, even this, the moment where she sits down on the bus, refuses to get up for a white passenger, is arrested. Not as much is known about it, certainly the background of her remarkable activist history. But what surprised you most about this period?
Well, a couple of things surprised me the most. First off, really digging into what the boycott was really interesting for me, and that kind of rich detail around how it actually worked, that there were, and then everything's fine. But the risk and the danger that they face is often not explored. And we really, obviously that's a key moment to her life, and part of what she sacrificed by taking a stand on that bus.
And Professor Theoharis, what was accomplished in terms of the Supreme Court decision that would come a year later? How many people knew that it was Rosa Parks who launched Dr. Martin Luther King, really, into the huge public in national and international arena?
Right. So the boycott is 382 days. Like Yoruba said, it is massively well organized. They set up 40 pickup stations. They're giving 10 to 15,000 rides a day. This is an incredible Black organized, women-led movement. 2 months in, one of the things they had learned, so Rosa Parks is not the first person to get arrested on the bus. There was a trickle of people over the decade before Rosa Parks. We know the name Claudette Colvin 8 months earlier. Colvin is arrested on the bus, but about a decade earlier, a woman by the name of Viola White is arrested on the bus. She decides to pursue her case. In response, they do two things. The police rape her daughter, and then the state ties up her appeal in state court and never hears it. Damn. So one of the things Montgomery's Black community has learned from that is that the state may try to do the same thing with Rosa Parks' case, because now we're post-Brown, so there is much more chance that this could get changed on appeal. So what Fred Gray, Rosa Parks' 25-year-old lawyer, decides to do is to file a proactive case into federal court. And that case has 4 women on it. Claudette Colvin, Mary Louise Smith, 2 teenagers. Aurelia Browder, she's the title woman, and an older woman by the name of Susie McDonald. It is that case that goes all the way to the Supreme Court and leads to the desegregation of Montgomery's buses. And so it is this multi-pronged strategy, right? There's Rosa Parks' case. There's this incredibly well-organized boycott. And Rosa Parks, as we saw, is traveling that year to raise money to keep this boycott going. Then they have this federal case. So there's many tactics that lead to the desegregation of Montgomery's buses on December 21st, 1956. But that does not stop the suffering of the Parks family. And sadly, leaving Montgomery doesn't stop the suffering. And I think what we see in the Detroit section is that suffering goes on for many, many years.
Let's go to the Detroit section. In this clip of the rebellious life of Mrs. Rosa Parks, we learn about Rosa's life after she moved to Detroit. We hear from Detroit civil rights activist Ed Vaughn, from relatives of Rosa Parks, including her niece, Rhea McCauley, great-nephew Lonnie McCauley, and Parks herself through her letters, read by Lisa Gay Hamilton.
I don't know whether I could have...
Violent relationship with the Black community. And she was part of a tribunal that was at the Church of the Black Madonna, a militant Black church, very famous church, activist church, that she also was a part of and attended. And they put on a tribunal, and they had to seek justice, some kind of justice for the young boys, and to give to rule that these officers were guilty. She worked for John Conyers. She helped him get elected and worked. That was her first paid political job. And Conyers, Conyers was the first congressman to introduce the H.R. 40, the reparations bill. She was a supporter of reparations. I mean, her support for the Black freedom struggle all through the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, up until she passed, was, through the work that was going on in Conyers' office and in Detroit.
We continue to look at the new Peacock documentary, The Rebellious Life of Mrs. Rosa Parks, that premieres Wednesday. On Friday, I spoke with the film's co-director, Yoruba Richen, and Brooklyn College professor Jeanne Theoharis. I asked her to talk about how Rosa Parks had no problem supporting both Martin Luther King and Malcolm X.
Exactly. She saw no contradiction. In fact, she would describe Malcolm X as her personal hero, and yet it saw no contradiction with that and her incredible love and respect for Dr. King. She embraced Ella Baker and Queen Mother Moore. Right? We hear Joanne Watson in the film talk about her being holistic. That one of the things that Mrs. Parks is so good at is that she shows up for everything. She is looking for all different kinds of strategies to challenge the kind of racial injustice in this country, the social injustice, poverty, war, right? She has a whole platter of issues that she's working on, and she refuses to choose. She is part of the NAACP, and yet she's doing all of this work in the late 60s and 1970s around political prisoner cases, from Angela Davis to the Wilmington 10 to the RNA 11, and we see in the film what happens to the Republic of New Africa, which is actually born in Detroit, is a reparations Black Power group before it moves to Mississippi. She's a longtime supporter of reparations. She is an early opponent of the war in Vietnam. In fact, that's part of why she's supporting John Conyers in 1964 and helping him get elected, because he is such a staunch Union person like she is. He is already out against Vietnam like she is. And her job for Conyers really ends this decade of suffering for the Parks family. She had been working at what we could call a glorified sweatshop in the early 60s. Conyers' job comes with health insurance. Both she and Raymond had a number of health issues for her related to the stress of this work. I think we don't often understand the kind of toll this takes. We honor Rosa Parks, but we erase what is a decade of suffering really for her and her family. But then she's on the ground doing constituent work with John Conyers, doing work to challenge Detroit's racism, and traveling the country taking part in the Black Power Convention in Philadelphia. She's on staff at the National Black Political Convention in Gary. She is at one of the
to her as Mrs. Parks. Talk about your use, even in the title, The Rebellious Life, not of Rosa Parks, but of Mrs. Rosa Parks, the significance of that honorific for Mrs. Parks.
Well, I have to defer to Jeanne around that, but I know that all I remember is that as soon as we started working on this film, we started referring to her as a Mrs. Parks, and I think that was a Jeanne directive.
Jeanne.
So, certainly, if you talk to anybody who knew Mrs. Parks, they refer to her as Mrs. Parks. And certainly, I remember as we started to do interviews, I was like, people are they are always going to say it, so we always have to say it, right? And I think the Mrs. does a couple of things. I think the first is it is an honorific that Black women, Black women, particularly Black women of Rosa Parks's generation, did not get. And so it is not surprising then that everyone who talks about Mrs. Parks, who knew her, are fastidious about using it because it is giving her a kind of honorific that she was often denied. I think there's a second reason that I use it in the book, which is that I think Rosa Parks rolls off the tongue. We think we know her. And I think part of putting the Mrs. there was to stop us a little bit, to make us have to both take a step back, that she's not ours, right? That we don't just get to use her however we want, but also that we might not know her. And so I really fought to have Mrs. in the title. I also think the cadence of it is really lovely, but basically, this is how anyone who knew her referred to her, and I think it makes us have to come to her and learn about her in a different way.
Go ahead, Yoruba.
Oh, I was going to say, I also love how Joanne Watson refers to her as Mother Parks as well. Yeah.
So we want to end with one more clip from The Rebellious Life of Mrs. Rosa Parks. This is about the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., beginning with Sam Cooke's song, "A Change Is Gonna Come." We also hear from Rosa Parks' niece, Rhea Cawley, the rebellious life of Mrs. Rosa Parks. As we begin to wrap up, Yoruba Richen, if you can talk about what Rosa Parks' life means for today, the idea that rights not fully achieved, not in the film, but very interesting, is her fierce opposition to Clarence Thomas becoming a Supreme Court justice, saying it would not represent a step forward in the road to racial progress, but a U-turn on that road, like his statements on Brown v. Board of Education and even on Roe v. Wade. Talk about this.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite remarkable, that her speaking out against his nomination and what we're going through today. I mean, granted, when he was nominated, many of us knew this was not a positive thing for our civil rights. But she, as somebody, who was obviously well known and considered the mother in danger of taking away other rights. So Mrs. Parks, sat on, I think of how she sat with her grandfather in the early 1900s, facing the KKK and defending his house, and where we are today, and that she never stopped fighting for that justice, and knew that we weren't there even at the end of her life. And obviously we're still not now, but gives me some inspiration and hope that you have to keep on keeping on. And I think Miss Parks knew that.
Yoruba Richen, co-director with Joanna Hamilton of the new Peacock documentary, The Rebellious Life of Mrs. Rosa Parks. It premieres on Wednesday. Yoruba is the founding director of the documentary program at the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at CUNY, the City University of New York. The film is based on the biography by the same name that was written by Brooklyn College professor Jeanne Theoharis. That does it for our show. Democracy Now! Is currently accepting applications for Video News Production Fellowship and a People and Culture Manager. You can learn more and apply at democracynow.org. Democracy Now! Is produced with Renee Fels, Mike Burke, Dina Guzder, Messiah Rhodes, Nermeen Sheikh, Maria Terracena, Tammy Warrenoff, Tarina Nadura, Sam Alcoff, Taymur Yastudio, John Hamilton, Robbie Karen, Hani Masood, and Mary Conlon. Our executive director is Julie Crosby. Special thanks to Becca Staley, John Randolph, Paul Powell, Mike DeFilippo, Miguel Noguera, Hugh Grand, Dennis Moynihan, David Prude, and Dennis McCormick. To see all our shows, you can go to any podcast platform or democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman. Stay safe.
And ladies and gents, as you watch with me, I just remember this video came out 3 years ago That means when this documentary came out on Peacock. If you have a Peacock, ladies and gents, feel free to watch it. And if you like to read, the book is called The Rebellious Life of Mrs. Rosa Parks. So I don't have Peacock, ladies and gents, so I definitely like to. I'm going to look on all the apps that I have here on my TV, and I may find it. If I don't find the documentary, beside other way to see beside Peacock, I definitely want to buy this book because I want to read. And this is a perfect example on what happened in a lot of great Black people that rose and stepped to the plate to do what is right and to do what is just. Because personally, the only thing that I knew about, and I know it's not just me, it's a lot of Black people that the only thing that you know about Rosa Parks is because she stood up to stay sat in the bus and didn't want to give that seat for the white man. But I did not know about her history and the things that she accomplished in Detroit. We don't waste any drop of wine here, ladies and gents. So and there's so many stories, behind the scene that we do not know. A lot of things has been erased on great accomplishment of Black people in this country because from the beginning of the days, they don't want us to succeed. Every time that we stood up and did the things and have our own community, here comes the white man and destroy and kill and everything. That's one, not the two, not three, but several massacres that happen in this country. I have a couple episodes for a couple of previous years. You go to my archive of my podcast. If you don't see on YouTube, you can definitely go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. All my episodes since the day one that I started is going to be available on Spotify. I have a couple episodes about some massacres I have here. The one that happened here in Ocoee, Florida. Ladies and gents, and that's the sad part of it. People that do not know our history, and a lot of people that hate Black people, I always say, Black people just want to take advantage of everything. They want to work, they're lazy. But every time that you build our community, here comes the jealous and the greedy white man and killed, destroyed, and took everything they had. Tulsa, Oklahoma is another example of it. Have some massacre that happened in St. Louis and so forth. Don't believe me? Do your search. Google Black Massacre in the United States and go to see several or hundreds of examples. Rosewood right here in Florida too. So that's plenty of examples. So, and I'm glad that they did this work because exalt and put Mrs. Parker and the pedestal that she deserved. Because I learned a lot just watching this information about the documentary, the thing that she accomplished in Detroit. And another thing too, that now this is within our community because Black woman is the strength of everything. Some people say behind the great man has a great woman. And I go beyond that saying. I believe that the Black woman is the strength of everything. Because without the support, without the strength that they have, that God made the way that God made them, is what makes the difference a lot. Now, do we have some wretches over there? Of course we do, like any segment of human society. There are some great women that's there to support and to build up, and also some wretched women that are just about money and they'll take advantage and live the best life exploiting other people. And this go to white woman, Asian woman, and Indian woman, and so forth. Now, but I'm not going to focus on the negativity. I'm going to focus on the glass half full. All right, ladies and gents. So, kudos to Democracy Now! Go ahead, if you have a Peacock, go ahead and watch it, this documentary. And if you do not have Peacock, go ahead, if you like to read, the book also is available for you. I believe you may find it on Amazon or the platforms that can purchase that book. All right, ladies and gents. So this closes the Black History Month 2026. But I'm still talking about black issues because I'm black every day, not only February, all right? So there's a lot of stuff that I'm still bringing over here, related, because this podcast is for the topics that affect our lives directly or indirectly, like I stated in the beginning. So if you like the work that I do, ladies and gents, please do me a favor, subscribe to this YouTube channel, click on the like button. If you want to know about the wine of the day, a picture is going to be available on all my social medias. Just Google any social media, you're going to see the same name of this podcast. It's my social media, and the picture is going to be available for you right there. Okay? So please be safe, be kind, and be blessed, and do the best of what you can do with what you got. Salute. And I see you next Saturday with another awesome podcast episode. Holla!
For the #1 spot, pushing my rap like the push I on the block, holding my